John Scott here with Jonathan Acosta. Bills hosting the Bengals, 1 o'clock. Remember, it was originally 4:25, now 1 o'clock Sunday inside Highmark Stadium. Let's start with the Bills' injury front. No Joey Bosa, Josh Palmer, or Terrell Bernard at practice on Wednesday. It was just a walkthrough, but Sean McDermott providing a little extra context to maybe the length of things and extent when it comes to Bosa and Palmer in particular.
Yeah, he said, let's start off with Palmer, right? Because Palmer is a guy who he had been battling an injury. He came back, I think, to play in one of these recent games and then out again in this past game. He said that he's not necessarily in the best spot with his injury. Just seems like it's something that's been lingering. And I get the sense from what he was talking about that I wouldn't be surprised if they just give him this week also to just sort of get right, especially this team has more important games coming up down the road. We've seen the passing offense be what it is. I'm assuming they want Palmer to be as healthy as possible for the playoffs, so if they can afford to give him maybe an extra week of rest just for him to get right, I could see the team going down that path. With Joey Bosa, Sean McDermott said that it looks like a week-to-week deal. They're hoping that it's on the shorter end of that, but still that definitely doesn't sound promising for Bosa's ability to play in this game. Going up against a quarterback like Joe Burrow where, pressure is something that affects all quarterbacks, right? So you want to get pressure on Joe Burrow. Joey Bosa has been your best pass rusher this season, so that's going to be a big loss if he can't go in this game for the Bills.
Encouraging news for both the tackles for the Bills. Deion Dawkins still in the concussion protocol, but limited here on Wednesday. Spencer Brown also limited, saying after practice he's not going to say he's going to play, but feeling better certainly from where he was a week ago. And Dalton Kincaid, though they did add a knee to his injury designation here, he was also limited as well, so maybe trending in the right direction. But we felt very encouraged, and we liked what we saw from Alec Anderson and Ryan Vandemark. Not going to say they're going to be out there or not be out there, but certainly you would like to have your two stalwarts at the corners in Dawkins and Brown back.
Well, especially because I think it allows you to do more even in the passing offense. Josh Allen spoke to the extent of when they were asking him about sort of not pushing the ball down the field, how it was more game plan related with being down both of your starting tackles and going up against a pass rush like the Steelers have, where you don't want to take 5-7 step drops against TJ Watt and let him just sort of get after you, right? So when you have both of those starting tackles in Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown, gives you more confidence that Josh Allen is going to get the protection that he needs for when you want to dial up a play action shot. He's going to have time to stand back there in the pocket, as opposed to getting walloped and then you're worried about your star quarterback being injured or something like that.
This Bengals defense stinks. We'll just call it what it is. I mean, they rank last or second to last in nearly every single major statistical category on that side of the ball. I could go down a laundry list of they've allowed 500-plus yards in a game multiple times, 40-plus points multiple times. They can't stop the run. They're not good against the pass here. So it'll be interesting to see the game plan. We know the Bills are a run-first offense at this point in time, but in theory, they should have their way to do anything that they want, especially since it appears Trey Hendrickson unlikely to play.
The biggest thing for the Bills, take care of the football. And all of their losses, that's been one of the big themes. And we saw Cincinnati get Joe Burrow back, but they go into Baltimore. Apart from the play of Joe Burrow, a big reason they were able to win that game was because of their defense, maybe their best defensive performance of the season, and a big part of that was being able to create those takeaways. You think back to the couple of turnovers that Lamar had, the fumble that Isaiah Likely had as he's about to go in to score a touchdown, goes out for a touchback. So some big momentum-changing turnovers by the Bengals. And again, not to hammer home this point, but the Bills were so good at taking care of the football last year, and then you think back to the ways that they've lost games this year, a lot of it comes down to those turnovers. You think back especially to the Miami game, some of those back-breaking turnovers on the plus side of the field, James Cook fumbling, Josh Allen's interception at the goal line. Really feels like if the Bills are able to take care of the football in this game, they're going to be able to move the ball down the field and convert those drives into points.
Yeah, self-inflicted wounds. I'm not taking away anything from the teams that have beaten the Bills this season, but to your point, the script has largely been the Bills are putting themselves in the corner, and the opposing team is largely maybe delivering the knockout punch while they are put there. But we know about the Bengals offense, especially with Joe Burrow. Sean McDermott, point blank, saying they're a different team and they're a different offense with him at quarterback. And this is with Joe Flacco. We know what Flacco is. He was throwing the ball all over the place. Yeah. They were airing it out and scoring points. But Joe Burrow is a different cat, and this offense and even the vibe around the team seems different with their top-level quarterback returning.
And I think that's what it is, right? Because offensively, they were still producing with Joe Flacco, but it seems like the return of Joe Burrow gives extra juice, not just to his offensive playmakers, but even the defense. It gives them the confidence knowing, hey, we can compete in any game. If we get the ball back to Joe Burrow, he's going to deliver for us and help us win these sorts of games. And I think that's the sort of juice you saw that defense play with against Baltimore that has Lamar Jackson and everything. They really sort of shut that offense down, especially in the second half, right? So it's a task that if you look just at the records and the defensive statistics for the Bengals, you would say the Bills have had tougher challenges this season. But you look at the quarterback that they have, and in the games that they have played with that quarterback healthy, playing the full game, and you know that there's going to be a big challenge for this team.
The Bills have struggled against the Bengals. We'll just call it what it is, especially with Joe Burrow at the helm.
Back to that playoff game in the snow.
100%, and even in Cincinnati, the second year, the year after the DeMar Hamlin incident, it's going to be strength versus strength when it's Christian Benford, named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week, and Jamar Chase, who even missing a game with a suspension and having to deal with Joe Flacco instead of Joe Burrow, once again towards the top in most of the statistical categories. That's going to be a heck of a matchup to watch because Benford has been traveling with the opposing team's best wideout.
And you sort of know Jamar Chase is going to get his, but that then leads me to look at this. T. Higgins, I believe, was out this past game, right? Is he able to come back into the lineup for Cincinnati?
Limited on Wednesday.
And if he is, that could sort of be the matchup to watch then, as opposed to maybe Benford versus Jamar Chase. We're looking at Trey White / Maxwell Hairston against T. Higgins, because the Bengals have shown that the ability to, hey, this might not be a game where Jamar Chase goes for 150 yards, but we're able to pepper T. Higgins for 11 to 12 targets and get him to 100 yards. So if the Bills think that just shutting down Jamar Chase is going to be enough in this game, they're going to need to do that also with T. Higgins, or make Burrow find a Mike Gesicki or an Andre Yoshivas consistently in order to beat them, and not let those two main guys sort of be the culprits of the damage.
If we are going to talk about defensive statistics, Bills' run defense is one of the worst. I was surprised, honestly. Bills have the best pass defense in the National Football League. That will certainly be tested. The Bengals, if you look at the first 6 games, they could not run the football. Chase Brown was averaging only about 30-some yards a game. Now he's over 80 yards a game in these past 6. And we know what it does, complementary football. The Bills try to do it with their run versus pass game. I think even though a lot of the focus is going to be on Burrow in the passing game, let's not just assume that Chase Brown is not going to be problematic and something that they need to focus on.
And just imagine how much more complicated that makes this offense to defend, right? Where if you have Joe Burrow sort of playing the way we know he can play, right? But then they have a running game to complement that. Think about what that opens for the Bengals in the play-action game and everything like that. So I think we talked about after the Pittsburgh game where that was an outstanding effort by the Bills defensively all the way around, but especially in the run game where the Steelers looked like they wanted to run with Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell, and they shut that down. But that was just one performance. Can the Bills build off of that and now make that something consistent, a consistent identity of what this defense is going to be going forward, as opposed to just, hey, that was a 1 week sort of thing where they sort of rally the troops, but they go back to being the same Bills defense this following week. Very encouraging, again, from what we saw with them. Shaq Thompson, I thought, was awesome at linebacker and everything. Can they do that again here against Chase Brown and this Bengals offense? Again, Joe Burrow's still his second week back. I don't think he's going to be out there throwing it 50-55 times again, although he did throw a good amount against Baltimore, surprisingly. But if they're able to run the ball with Chase Brown, I think the Bengals offense wants to live in that sort of balance, looking to take advantage of what this Bills defense has been this year.
Temperatures in the mid-20s is the highs and the upper teens for the lows. Bundle up, buddy. He'll be out there shooting the game.
We'll have the snow pants on. Maybe the beanie that'll be a game time decision.
And for all of you fans, drink those beers quick because they might be freezing as well. Bills and Bengals, 1 o'clock inside Highmark Stadium Sunday afternoon. With Jonathan Acosta, I'm John Scott for Channel 2 Sports.